Let's go over some Spurs news and notes and ask Spurs, well, could they be running it back?
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs. We're here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Happy Monday, everybody. Hope everybody had a nice, restful weekend. For those of you on San Antonio, a happy fiesta. And yeah, glad to have you all back. Subscribing to Locked On Spurs, wherever you get your favorite podcasts, Ken's 5 Plus app, YouTube, iTunes, Spotify. You know where to go. Subscribe right now. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Hey, what are we talking about today? Well, we're going to be discussing, some quick Spurs news and notes. I think you can figure out what the big one is. And then bringing our guest, James Pledger of San Antonio Sports Star. He recently had a kind of a social media Instagram video where it kind of took off. And he brought him on to discuss his thoughts on the Spurs standing pat. Yeah, running it back. We're going to be discussing that and then talk about you guys, Locked On Spurs fans, what are y'all talking about over at the YouTube page. But first, some Spurs news and notes. I know it's the big one, right? Everybody knows this by now, but I got to mention it here in case you're under a rock. Victor Wembanyama has been named a finalist for the NBA Rookie of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year. Let's start off with the Rookie of the Year. It's a lock, right? I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, it's his, that's it. It's pretty much just give him right now. Why do you have to even name him a finalist? Just say Victor won it already. Let's move on. Yeah, what can you say? He led all rookies in scoring and blocks, and the stats. Won 3 straight Rookie of the Month awards. Finished his rookie season with 20-plus points. Led the league in blocks. I mean, from the plays to the dunks to, just Victor himself and being one of the most viewed plays of the year. His dunk on Boston Celtics, Derek White. Y'all remember that. And seriously, he is the real deal. It is no shock. Nobody seems to be surprised when they name Victor Wembanyama the NBA Rookie of the Year. Now, shifting to the Defensive Player of the Year. May not happen for Victor. I mean, look, first of all, no rookie's ever won the Defensive Player of the Year. I believe he should. There's no doubt about it. Look at every statistical defensive measurement and individual league. If this is an individual award, he wins it. Looks like they were maybe they'll give it to Rudy Gobert, his French countryman, based on he was on Minnesota being the league leading best defensive team. You know how that goes. They have the best record. Look, we ad nauseum we talked about this. But in my opinion, I think Victor wins it. He should win it. It's a shame that he's not going to win it. And I think years from now, when we look back at this past season and say, oh, who won the Defensive Player of the Year in 23-24? And everybody's going to be like, oh, it's got to be Victor. It's got to be Victor. It's going to be Rudy. No knock on Rudy, but stat-wise, it's safe to say Wemby lapped him in a lot of defensive measurements. So it is what it is. But hey, at least he got nominated. But hey, at least we can look forward to a Rookie of the Year award presentation sometime soon. In other Spurs news, in case you missed it, if you are looking for an addition to your Spurs collectible items and got like about over $2,000 to spend, well, this is for you. There's a rare Tim Duncan soda machine up for sale outside a barn in Austin, Texas. Look, whether it's sold or not sold by the time you're watching this episode of Locked On Spurs, regardless, if you've never seen that commercials or the commercials of Sprite and Tim Duncan, they're iconic. There's one with him and Kobe Bryant, like a rap battle. Yes, there was a rap battle version of Tim Duncan that is on YouTube right now. Go look for it. But again, you haven't seen it. It's very nostalgic. It's him in the black uniform, very 90 vibes, but it was just good to see that walk through memory lane. If you want to see a picture of it, go to kens5.com/Spurs right now. In other Spurs news, speaking of Wemby, his jersey ranks among the top selling NBA jerseys in the second half of the regular season. People are buying Wemby jerseys left and right. No shock there. The Wemby effect is real. His jersey, number one jersey, it's number one jersey, ranks number 4 on the top selling jersey in the second half of the regular season. Just behind Steph Curry, number 1, LeBron James, Jason Tatum. I mean, seriously, he's among some good talent there. But yeah, congratulations to Wemby. By the way, the Spurs also ranked 9th in team merchandise sales for the second half as well. So the Wemby effect is real. All right, there you have it. Some quick Spurs news and notes. When we get back, we're going to bring in our guest, James Pledger of San Antonio Sports Star. We're going to be discussing his thoughts on what he believes that the Spurs are looking to stand pat, run it back again. That's next right here on Locked On Spurs. But first, I want to talk to you about Monopoly Go. Look, I've been told I'm a competitive person. I don't think I am, but apparently that's what people tell me. I don't think it's true, but hey, that's what people view me. All right, fine. Maybe I do have a little bit of competitive side from time to time. We all do. And my competitive side is a big fan of Monopoly Go. I'm sure you heard of it. It's been downloaded over 150 million times. It's a great twist on Monopoly where you play on not one, but hundreds of Monopoly boards in crazy locations. You build up amazing cities that bring you big money. The best part, you're just messing around with your friends. You're just having fun with them. You can charge them rent on iconic properties, just like the classic Monopoly, but you can also now heist their vaults for riches for yourself. Leaderboards to show you who the biggest Monopoly tycoon is out there. It's not just for the competitors. Look, you'll love it. Trust me. Go get it right now. You can team up with friends, people around the world, make new friends, join time tournaments, earn huge rewards. Go get in the game right now. Join your friends. Download Monopoly Go now for free on the App Store or Google Play. I want to talk about Game Time. You want to go to gametime.co right now. Game Time is now authorized as a ticket marketplace for Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on Game Time app will actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. They got killer last minute deals, all in prices from your views. Well, basically your views from your seat. And you get the lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. Pick out specific games, matchups that you'll love to attend. And they'll likely have those tickets for you. Look, you don't want to be stressing over tickets, right? You got last minute ticket needs, they got you covered. You need flash deals? Yep, Game Time has that. What about zone deals? Game Time has that as well. Lowest price guaranteed as mentioned, including event cancellation protection, job loss protection. They have your back. Look, you can easily find MLB tickets or just pretty much for any kind of event in your area with Game Time right now. Those zone deals I mentioned, yeah, pretty much you can save even more money. You choose a section, let Game Time pick your seats. They got those seat views, as I mentioned. You get panoramic views from your seat in the app before you buy. That lowest price guarantee I mentioned, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference if you find that ticket at a lower price elsewhere. Game Time ticket coverage, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Look, take the guesswork right now out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNBA, that's LOCKEDONNBA, for $20 off. Download the Game Time app. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
Hey, this is Hot Rod.
And I'm RC from the San Antonio Spurs.
And you're listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
And we are now joined by James Pledger, San Antonio Sports Star's very own host of Extra Innings. And once again, showing off his guns, as always. Gotta show those guns off, do you?
Hey, you catch me either when I'm out of the gym or just chillaxing, so.
Hey. If you blow up and get arms like Wolverine or Colossus, you can thank me. You can thank me. I got you for your birthday.
That thing murders my freaking forearms.
I know. You're gonna get Popeye arms. You're gonna get those Popeye forearms. Oh yeah, okay. Well, there you are. There they are, right there. Well, anyway, James is here because we're gonna discuss a recent Instagram post he had on his Instagram, obviously. And basically about running it back. But again, make sure to follow him on X at I Am Pleasure. And again, tune in 94.1 FM on the radio dial. He'll talk about that later on in the show. But yeah, so as mentioned, Pleasure had a very interesting IG video post about the Spurs moving forward in the rebuild and got a few fans kind of talking about it. So I figure, James has come on and talk about it. In a nutshell, everybody, based on what Pledger saw to end the season, exit interviews, and hints along the way throughout the season, Pledger, you're here to be the bearer of bad news, possibly bad news, and that Spurs are going to likely run it back, huh?
Well, they're not going to run it back like exactly because they've got some free agents like Chetty Osman and,
Yeah.
guys that played significant minutes that I don't think will be back, but they'll just be replaced by guys of that ilk. What I'm suggesting is don't expect them to trade for, Trae Young. Don't expect them to try and go get Donovan Mitchell. Don't expect a massive move, Drew Holiday. Is there a way that with Derek White going into the final year of his deal and all the money they just invested in Tatum and Porzingis and Jason Tatum and Drew Holiday now with his big extension, is there a way that this could be a final run for that group as currently constructed because of how much they all make? And maybe Derek White gets moved this offseason, the Spurs come a-knocking? Possibly. But that's the type of move I would expect. I wouldn't expect anything massive. I wouldn't expect a second superstar to come rolling into town that costs you 5 first-round picks and a couple of pick swaps. I'm tempering expectations in terms of what I heard from Wemby, Devin, Pop, Keldon even. Everybody seems to be talking about Jeremy Sohan. Sohan was talking about it, the momentum, the positive momentum. Wemby talked about the momentum they had at the end of the season and how it can carry over for them next year. These are the kind of indicators that I'm talking about when I say, okay, don't expect much. Don't expect a big home run of a move.
So you're not expecting a blockbuster or stop the presses, everybody react to it kind of move. You're not expecting that because
the biggest move I would expect is Derek White if he's on the table. That would be the big move I would expect.
And you see, I know a lot of the Boston media from my time in New York City. I got to know them to a T. All of them tell me that Boston will do anything and everything to keep Derek White. They
should.
Big time. Yeah, they said so. Even if they do some sort of trade with Boston, I think, well, first of all, the Spurs could afford it. They can't afford any deal. I mean, nothing out of ridiculous. I mean, obviously, if it's something stupid, they're not going to decline it. But if the asking price is not too sticker shocky, I can see the Spurs trying to pull a trigger because Derek White would fill what they need right now, veteran point guard. They do need that. And although he wasn't an all-star, but he's practically is an all-star. He was on the verge of being one. So I think he would fit all the boxes they need.
I would ask you this, though. Because I will go strictly off Brian Wright. Brian Wright's tenure as GM.
Yeah.
Name one trade he's made that you didn't look at and go, oh, they won that trade.
Meaning the Spurs won the trade or the whoever else was involved?
Spurs, in principle, won the trade. Because the amount of picks they got for DeJounte Murray, it was in my estimation, it was a landslide for the Spurs because the unprotected nature of those picks. Right. You look at the
Derek White Young. I thought it was good for the Spurs.
It was good for the Spurs. It was good for Boston, but you never look at a trade that Brian Wright's made and go, "Oh man, did they just give up too much?"
Yeah,
it's never. There's never going to be, and too much is inconsequential because look at what the Houston Texans did last year when they moved up to 3 to get Will Anderson Jr. after selecting C.J. Stroud. Everybody in the moment went, oh my God, that is way too much to pay for that. And then in hindsight, everybody's like, Texans, way to go, man. But initial reaction to that trade was, man, you paid too much to move up for Will Anderson Jr.
Yeah,
that's what it feels like the Spurs would never do is a trade to where in the very early onset of it, it doesn't look like they want it on face value.
Yeah. I want to think of another one where the Spurs won is, what did they get for Thad Young and Drew Eubanks?
Yeah, a first-round pick.
Yeah, they got a first-round pick for those guys. So, yeah, so far, so good as far
I believe
as
it's that top protected one, top 6 protected one from them, right?
Yeah. Yep, it's for this.
Which, by the way, I didn't expect to get a first round pick for Thad Young. I didn't expect it to be less than lottery protected, much less top 6.
Yeah. Yeah, we got Brian Wright could be looking good, especially if the 2 first-round picks land. We'll find out
Yeah.
in a few weeks, how the lottery shakes out. But but overall, running it back, I think another breadcrumb that we heard throughout the season, and you mentioned on your IG post, is don't skip steps. We don't skip steps. So it's almost like the Spurs throughout the entire season, and he wrapped it up in the exit interview saying, don't expect a lot, maybe not even next year.
Mm-hmm. And I will go a little bit further on the don't skip steps. We've heard don't skip steps. Remember, in about March, we heard Wemby talking about how, yeah, I expect to be involved in the process this off season with bringing in talent, blah, blah, blah. What did we hear in the exit interview? It was a completely different tenor from Wemby about trusting the front office and, they're going to do what's best. I'm going to do my role. If they ask for some help, I'm going to give my input. Like, it was a completely different tenor of the approach to this off season. And the question asked was in the Kevin O'Connor Ringer interview, the hour-long sit-down he did with them. Fantastic interview, by the way. If you haven't heard it, go listen to it. It's on YouTube. An hour sit-down with Wemby talking about literally everything. It is fantastic. But O'Connor asked him specifically about this offseason and 2025. And that's where the answer kind of changed from what it sounded like in March, when he's like, yeah, I'm going to be asked about some of the draft prospects coming in, and they're going to, try and get my help with, how we construct this roster moving forward. It sounded completely different, his answer to Kevin O'Connor in the Ringer just a few months later.
Right.
And that's another indicator when they talk about momentum and how well they played and carrying it over, that just leads me to believe there's not going to be anything explosive this offseason. And I don't know if I hate that in a sense, because that 2025 draft pick, that's the draft class, right? That's the Wemby class. That's the one with Cooper Flagg, and is a massive draft haul for that one. While this one is, right? Like, they don't even know who's going one. It is so just kind of. You've seen what 4 or 5 different players go number 1 overall at some point.
It's Sarr, one day it's Ricochet, one day it's Collier. I mean, it's all over the map. But
Dillingham,
yeah, exactly. I look at this roster. We know it'll be tinkered with. It won't be a massive overhaul. But when you look at the fringe players, like you mentioned, Cedi Osman, Devonte Graham, Mamu. I mean, those. I think Spurs fans could be looking at those as the suspects to be moving on. And interesting enough, though,
I wouldn't mind keeping Mamu.
They have, the biggest piece they could deal right now is Keldon Johnson. So you don't even feel Keldon would be maybe on the trade block, unless it's some sort of ridiculous offer and they got to pull it. But I can see them, bringing, just the quarterback, just that obviously Wemby, but Devin, Sohan, Keldon, and Trey Jones. I would throw Trey Jones in that mix too.
Yeah,
and then that's basically the same team they're gonna bring back, and I think Spurs fans are going to be lighting torches and with pitchforks. I really believe that if the Spurs start the next season with a pretty much more or less the same roster and not a Trey Young in Spurs uniform, or I'm making this up, a Drew Holiday, something like that ilk.
Remember when Brian Windhorst was here for that back-to-back with the Knicks and Golden State Warriors, and he was here for the weekend, right? He did a Hoop Collective podcast the next day, that Monday, I believe, and he talked about his time here and had very glowing things to say about San Antonio is not what people envision San Antonio as. It's booming, it's bustling, there's stuff to do, short drive to Austin. He like included the whole thing in his diatribe of it's a city on the come, and people shouldn't think of it the way they used to anymore, which was great stuff but he also had this thing in there where he and Tim Bontemps were talking about don't expect much in 2024 and maybe 2025 even.
Yeah.
And those were kind of the tea leaves that he read while he was here in town with Wemby and everything. And that is kind of another piece to the puzzle of the don't expect much this off season. Although I don't know where this would fall on your idea of a big move or not. I know it's a big name. I don't know if it's a big move as such anymore, but Sham Charania reported earlier this weekend that Chris Paul could be a name to watch for the San Antonio Spurs if he becomes available and they don't pick up that second-year option on him for $30 million.
Yeah, yeah, and the Warriors are definitely looking to restructure, as it looks like that might be it for their dynasty. So they could pull the plug and rebuild as soon as next season.
But would you consider that a big move for San Antonio if that was one of their moves?
I mean, it's just not Chris Paul of yesteryear. You know, that's what it is. You know,
I mean, you're getting the Chris Paul you're getting. It is what it is. But he's a point guard, and it's something this team really lacked at times.
Floor leader. I mean, he's a very vocal floor leader, you know, and he's the type of guy that will probably get in the face of Keldon and Victor and Sohan if they're not, you know, doing what they're supposed to be doing on the court. So I don't know. I mean, for a year of just that type of infusion of veteran, barking, very bullheaded type of floor general, I will be okay with that if it's just for 1 year.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, because I saw that rumor, and it makes sense because Chris Paul has been connected to San Antonio a lot, even before he signed with the Golden State Warriors. So I just don't know. I don't see that on the, like, that's a big move side of things anymore. I see that as a nice piece. And
but it's not
just because I got you here.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a big move, though. I'm not saying it's, my God, stop the presses, you know.
It's a big name, not a big move.
It's a big name, not a big move, right? Exactly. Because I do think they're kind of sold on Trey Jones a bit. I think they are. I think they really like him as of right now, their starting point guard.
I think his role is best still coming off the bench in a second unit kind of way, but maybe that's what Chris Paul's going to be. I don't know, because they seem to drop off there. But and these are the things throughout a season when I look back in retrospect, it's like, why? You see how well that team played with Devonte Graham on the floor in the last few games of the year?
Yeah, listen. I mean, there's a guy.
I brought it up on this show multiple times. Where the hell is Devonte Graham?
Yeah, he's a bucket getter, averages double figures for his career. And then, you know, now you can play with the season pretty much all over and go ahead now. Injuries were a big factor, but maybe they didn't want them to pick up some wins to start the season. Too many wins, you know. I don't know. Hey, trust the process, Pledger. What if that's the process? Keep the rebuild going a little bit longer.
I see, but if it's truly like we thought it was, and like everybody said in the exit interviews, whether it was Soham, Wemby, growth. Wemby's own personal growth, growing around Wemby, learning to play with Wemby, all of these things. I don't know why having a person on the floor that can help A, get buckets, B, as a veteran, and C, was a position outside of Trey Jones you sorely lacked any sort. And maybe that's because they're trying to get Malachi Branham and Blake Wesley more minutes, and that could have been the thought process behind it. It's just seeing Devonte Graham play so well at the end of the year when he was just a DNP CD for most of the year really aggravated me, because I know he meant more wins to this team. Not a lot, but you're not, you know, you're not playing jump rope with the worst record in Spurs franchise history, if that's the case.
Yeah, I don't know what his win shares are, but the Spurs were in a lot of games, late in games, and they needed a bucket. They could have given it to Devonte. Just saying. Look, the Philadelphia game went to double overtime. You know, maybe, you know, that changes if Devontae's out there a little bit longer. Who knows? Who knows?
I was just wondering if you saw like the last 4 or 5 games of the season when he actually got minutes, and of course they win 4 of their last 6, and it's
yeah, Spurs. What were you thinking?
And he played really well in those games.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, got a game winner too. It was at the Denver game, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So all in all, yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, but I'm with you. I do feel like the vibe right now is running it back. I think that is the vibe right now, and I agree with you. Again, barring some sort of insane offer, like if the Hawks really want to unload Trae Young and they're like, just give us our picks back, Spurs, I think the Spurs would be okay with that. I think if it's just that, but if they want to all like bring up the Brinks truck and give us the picks back and throw this guy in and we need this guy, then hang on tight here, because
now the question becomes with Trae Young, just because you brought him up, like, does he fit here? Like, I know he provides outside shooting and a scoring punch, but his defense, his defense is the reason they brought in DeJounte Murray.
Yeah.
And we know Pop and the Spurs are they coach defense very hard, and it's very important to them. Now, it doesn't seem like it at times this season or over the past couple, but I think that's more personnel than anything.
I think it's just really just Wemby's a human eraser. He blows by Trae, Wemby's back there. I think it's what it is. He'll cover up a lot of the warts on defense for Trae Young.
Almost like a defensive player of the year caliber person.
Yeah. Hey, he's in finalists, so I know he's not going to win it, but
he is.
Yay, Wemby. Hopefully, look, Wemby, you're going to get one, probably several by the time it's all over.
Didn't we say that about Tim?
Yeah. Somebody told me the other day, that I told him, like, Tim Duncan never won DPOI, and they were stunned. And I said, okay, why are you stunned? And the reaction was, I just assumed he got it. Like, he was that good. Like, TD was that good.
He was that good. And every year he didn't get it. Well, don't worry, he'll get one next year, or he'll get one very soon.
Or
like, to assume that those are coming is it's not a career achievement award. It is a yearly based award. And the problem I have with it is, and this is the reason he's not going to win it. Yeah, he's a finalist, but did you see a bunch of the ballots that didn't even have Victor Wembanyama on it?
Yeah. There was like,
because all votes count. Like, your second and thirds add up to the total amount, which allows you to win the award. So by leaving him off ballots, you're basically assuring that he can't win. And I think that is an old head writer mentality that, well, rookies can't win this award. So if I don't put him on the ballot, it gives him less of a chance to actually win it, even though he's going to be a finalist, which he should just be happy about that. And I have an issue with that type of thinking. It is old school, and we've always done it this way, so we shouldn't do it any other way. And it annoys the ever-loving out of me.
You get pleasure. See, that's why I listen to Extra Innings. He would just go off on that, and you got to tune in. Trust me, Extra Innings is a great show. It's fun. Recaps the whole day, but we'll let Pleasure brag about that in a while. But what do you think, Spurs fans? Are the Spurs going to run it back? You got that feeling they're going to just pretty much stand pat, more or less, and let's try it again. Let us know. You let James know on X at I Am Pleasure. Let me know on the Locked On Spurs YouTube page. When we get back, speaking of the Locked On Spurs YouTube page, we're going to be discussing what you guys are talking about. What comments you're all leaving over at Locked On Spurs YouTube. Hey, I want to talk about PrizePicks. So what is PrizePicks? Well, it's America's #1 fantasy sports app with over 3 million members. It's that huge. It's the easiest, most exciting way to get into the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more than or less than 2 to 6 players on their stat projections, and you can watch the rollings roll in. Good luck to all of y'all. Look, March is almost over, but the biggest moments are still around the corner. They got the NBA playoffs are they're in action right now. It's in action. You got what else? Well, you got NHL. You got, just every sport you could think of, PrizePicks has you covered. You can get in all the playoff action right now and win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks as you and the world's best players take the game to a new level during basketball's postseason. Playoffs are underway right now. Jump on the action. You can win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000 with basketball, hockey, college. Seriously, entries every day. Just go to PrizePicks right now, America's #1 sports app. Look, they even got weekly promotions, special offers, Apple Pay for quick and easy deposits. They got it all. That's why you got to go download it right now. So go to PrizePicks right now, everybody. Download the app. Use code LOCKEDON for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the app right now. Use the code LOCKEDON. First deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. I also want to talk to you about Musliger drive-through coffee. Go right now, San Antonio, 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive, 21 to 1604 area. Open every single day from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. They got mini donuts. They got lattes. They got cold brews. They got dairy alternatives. They got caffeinated drinks, non-caffeinated drinks. Pick an item on the menu. You will absolutely love it. They're a proud local sponsor of Locked On Spurs and a proud community member of San Antonio, giving the San Antonio residents the best drinks in this city. Go there right now. Once again, 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive. By the way, they also have the Lightning Bolt series. Now, just a heads up, they're now going to Lotus Energy. So that's basically 7 power plant extracts. It's like Red Bull, but it allows Muslingers to have a little bit more flexibility to make new drinks. Now, if you need Red Bull in those Lightning Bolt drinks, they got it. You can still get it, but the default will always be Lotus Energy. So just a heads up on that. But part of that Lightning Bolt energy line is the Wemby, or the Alien, I should say. It is in honor of the alien himself, Victor Wembanyama. Go get it. It is a delicious drink. They have it all. The OG. Pick something on that menu. You will definitely love it. 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive. Open every single day from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Go there right now, San Antonio, because life is too short for bland coffee. And we're back with James Pledger, my good friend over at San Antonio Sports Star. Follow him on X at @IamPledger. He is host of Extra Innings. He's going to brag about that in a while. It's a great show. It really, really is. Seriously, James, I don't know how you do it, man. You just recap everything in the sports world for that day that you're on.
Well, maybe here we just go. Putting in my PrizePicks for,
Look at that. Yeah. Yeah, look, this person not in it, but, Pledger's definitely going to take advantage of that.
You got NBA playoffs, you got Major League Baseball. It's a ton of things, more or less.
Yeah. And all those ton of things that happen in the sports world are on Extra Innings. He'll talk about that in just a few minutes. Hey, we're going to be talking about you guys right now, the Locked On Spurs fans. Y'all leaving a lot of comments. Let's pick 2, and away we go. The first one is from Jive. James, he says, Spurs need a good PG point guard like Trae Young, not a shooting guard that can't shoot anymore. I think he's talking about Klay Thompson. We'll talk about that in a bit. But there you go. It looks like Spurs fans are seeing the need is at PG. Is that the biggest, to-do thing, position to address in the offseason?
Probably. I'm at the point where, you need someone to basically, when Trae Young's not playing, be on the floor, whether that's starting or on the bench. Like, you need a veteran point guard of some sorts. But I kind of think also that the draft is going, like most of the guys we talk about, whether it's Topic or Rozier or Sar, they're all point guards, right?
Yeah.
They're former point guards. So I would not be shocked if one of those guys ends up being the Spurs draft pick this year as well. And that may be the way they go about addressing the point guard position, by basically having Trey Jones and then drafting one of the Euros or even Dillingham and allowing that to kind of be the point guard to grow into the role. And then you've got your depth behind it with Branham and Wesley, basically.
Yeah. Dillingham did an interview with ESPN recently and said that, hey, I've been watching Wemby. I've been watching what he's doing. I would love to team up with him. So, I mean, at this point, I think everybody would love to team up with Wemby in their career.
Get
whether you're a young
in
guy,
line,
even a
Rob.
veteran. Yeah, get in line. All right, thank you for that comment there, Jive. And let's move on to the next comment. The next one's from Jackal210, Pledger. He says, Klay Thompson does not pass. Bad idea. Great shooter when he is on, but he does not pass the ball. There was even a video made about players who never give up the ball. He is at the top of the list. Now, thank you, Jackal, for that comment. Now, he's reacting to the last week's Locked On Spurs, where we discussed Vegas having the Spurs listed as one of the better teams. Well, the top teams with the best odds.
Maverick, Spurs, and
the Warriors, Lakers.
Yeah.
But what do you think about that? So Jackal's saying, nah, bad idea. Don't, if Klay's available, Spurs shouldn't chase them. I mean, I think he would know his role, and I think he'll know that you're coming off the bench. You did it in Golden State. You're going to do it again in San Antonio. Just spread that floor from Victor, and we're good. I mean, where do you stand on Klay Thompson?
I think Klay's fine. As a bench player, depends what he wants his role to be moving forward, which is what free agency is all about. And technically, if I'm coming off the bench, why wouldn't I just want to finish out my career as a Warrior doing it there with Draymond and Steph? I wouldn't hate the idea. And for those that think he doesn't pass, not true. Klay Thompson is one of the better movers without the ball, and just the ability to work with the ball without dribbling the ball. Basically, either he is into a shot or off to the next shot to make the better shot. Like he's very good about fluidity with ball movement without having to dribble. It's very impressive.
Yeah, I look, if the Spurs were to acquire him and sign him, and if he does, I think he'll ultimately retire a Golden State Warrior. I think that's how it's going to play out. But if for some reason he lands on the Spurs, I mean, I'm not going to hate it. For me, Pledger is how much. I think that will be it. I don't need a Pau Gasol end of his career type deal the Spurs gave Pau. I don't need that for Klay. I don't want to revisit that again.
And he's likely going to get that from somebody, whether it's Golden State, whether it's Dallas, who's looking for kind of a guy to play off Luka that doesn't need the ball a lot, that can just really get the ball and shoot, which is kind of his forte. It makes sense in Dallas. It makes sense in Los Angeles playing off AD and LeBron. It makes sense in Golden State playing off of, Steph and Draymond. I don't know how much sense it makes in San Antonio, because those other teams are playoff teams that are ready and trying to win. And San Antonio is looking to get to that next level. So why would I want to be an ancillary piece on a team that is trying to get to the level where the other suitors are already at that are courting?
Yeah, exactly. But looks like I ultimately don't think he lands in San Antonio. I think if anything, he'll stay in Golden State, or it'll have to be a title contending playoff team, Dallas, the Lakers. I mean, that's the only way. As much as everybody wants to play with Wemby, I just think collectively the Spurs are not there yet to be that.
And if you're gonna go to San Antonio, the draw would be money. Okay, I'm not getting the money I want from these playoff contenders. Maybe this team trying to make a push will give me that money to get them over there. Like, that's the only reason to come to San Antonio at the moment, if you're a Klay Thompson. Now, if the Spurs were, the 2 seed and, felt like they were a piece away and he could be kind of that missing, push over the top, sure. But I don't know why you would take less to go to a team that is also less.
I thought the biggest draw for a free agent to come to San Antonio is extra innings with Pledger. Is that true?
It could be. I would love to have whoever comes into town on the show, and they can use my show the same way as Dre does his podcast. You could just come on and tell the world what you think of whatever you want to talk about, because that's what we talk about on Extra Innings with Pledger, is literally everything. We don't have to talk about the Spurs. If you're an NFL fan, come talk NFL with me.
And then people can listen to Extra Innings on YouTube, Facebook, all radio, all that good stuff, right?
Yeah, we're on Twitch, we're on YouTube, we're on 94.1 FM, we're on sasportstar.com. So there are a multitude of mediums to be able to ingest the show, much like Locked On Spurs. I am a YouTube streamer just because of the ease in which I can ingest the show. I can have it going in the background. The window minimizes, and I can continue to do other things on my phone while the show plays with the earbud in. I can take it into the gym. If I hear something, I can open up the app full and comment in the comment sections.
And that is why free agents in NBA, you got to come to San Antonio for Extra Innings. You got to come. Yeah, that Wemby guy too, but really for pleasure. That's what you have to be here for.
It's the Wemby Pledge tandem, really.
That's it. Yeah. This Vassell Wemby tandem. No, it's the Pleasure Wemby tandem. When you come to San Antonio. By the way, Pleasure caught up with X-Men 97. By the way, are you okay after episode 5?
No.
How bad did you take it?
Not well. Not well at all.
I didn't take it well at all. At all.
I mean, you're talking about my favorite X-Men from the comics, period. End of story. There's no other X-Men I like more than Remy LeBeau.
How is he not an Omega level? Because after what he proved that he can do versus the big Sentinel, how is he not Omega level?
I think he was. He could have been, but he basically kind of put a dampener on himself, which kind of capped his ability. Which and Omega level, like the definition of it is an Omega level mutant has no limit to their power. Basically, it is limitless. What they can do with their power has no limitations to it.
But Gambit, man, he went out of boss though. I mean, my goodness. And then how diabolical are they, the director, to do that scene with Rogue finally touching him for the first time? Well, without any effect. She's touched him before, just he gets smoked. And then she confesses that, okay, I'm picking you, and then the director's cut to black, and you're serious. I mean, you guys just really wanted to shed tears for Remy, didn't y'all? I mean, it's incredible. He is James Pleasure with San Antonio Sports Star, host of Extra Innings. Make sure to follow my next at I Am Pleasure. You can follow me on the Locked On Spurs YouTube page. Just go subscribe right now. Leave us your comments. We're going to need you guys throughout the offseason. You guys are going to have to help us generate some topics, man. It's going to be a long offseason, but there'll be stuff to talk about. Wemby and friends. Likely win the Rookie of the Year, so we'll discuss that as well. But so much stuff still ahead in the offseason. But for James Pleasure, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.